And there we go. Okay. All right. So we're back, obviously, back in my original car. Now it's all fixed, and it's wonderful, and it's almost exactly like it was before I crashed it. And except for this guy here, which is damaged.
It's always nice to have a little something to remember.
Damaged to hell. That's
why. A little something to tell the story.
Yes. Memories. That's why this car is now called Crash. In memory of that particular event. Anyway, I'm getting nostalgic. So Alysa's with me, because obviously I don't want to talk about this movie. And we're talking about Anchorman 2. Now, obviously, if you've watched the channel before, at all, really, because I've made mention of this several times, I am not necessarily the biggest fan of the first movie. In fact, I spent a half hour analyzing exactly every reason why I don't like this movie.
And that's exactly why I volunteered for this movie, because I really wanted to know, what's Michael thinking? And
so
on our way here, he didn't even really talk about how he felt about it. So now, you and I get to experience what Michael the comic nerd thinks about Anchorman 2.
Yes, because you're all dying to know, because I'm gonna get like like 1,000 more hate comments on this video. The Anchorman video has 28 comments, most of which are hate towards me.
So I believe it was directed by Gary Sanchez, who was the maker of Casa de Mi Padre, which Will Ferrell was also a part of.
Big shock.
And Judd Apatow, as you guys know. So
see, I actually like Judd Apatow. So.
I do too. From Freaks and Geeks to.
No, it's actually rumors he's gonna be the Ant-Man in the new Marvel movie.
Did not know that.
This is like just announced rumors like earlier today, so I'd actually be okay with that.
Very cool.
But anyway, now the big question: what do I think of this movie? I didn't like it, but.
He didn't hate it, which is an improvement, which I love.
It was better than I was expecting.
Mind you, I actually went out with to get drinks with him. Because
her bright idea to get me to like this movie was get him plastered.
And I think it helped, so... Yay, alcohol.
That Scotch whiskey wore off pretty fast when we got in there. Because my brain caught up, hey, we're going to see Anchorman 2. Sober up, sober up, sober up. Anyway... So, no, it's not as god-awful as I was expecting it to be. Granted, my expectations were ridiculously low for this. I was expecting to really, really hate this movie. I still didn't like it, but I didn't hate it with every fiber of my being, and it doesn't make me that angry that I sat through it. Well, the reason why I think this movie is overall significantly better over the first one, although given my opinion of it, that isn't saying much, is the fact that comparison to the first movie, there's actual structure here. Or mostly structure, except maybe towards like the halfway point, third act, it kind of lost it completely. But
I kind of thought in the beginning it was a little bit slow.
Like that's maybe
the rhythm of the beginning, the first 30 minutes was relatively slow compared to the rest.
Maybe it was the Scotch whiskey talking, but I honestly don't remember much of the first 20 minutes.
So in the first 20 minutes, Ron Burgundy basically sabotages his relationship with Veronica Corningstone because Veronica Corningstone was offered a position on primetime, being the first woman on primetime, and Ron Burgundy, of course, always wanting to be number one, could not stand that. So what does he do? He does what Ron Burgundy does, and basically...
That doesn't what Ron Burgundy does, what fucking Will Ferrell does. Who are we kidding? That's one of my big issue with the first movie. It's like that was my big issue with the first movie, and it's better here. They fixed it somewhat, is that nobody in the first Anchorman movie are playing actual characters. They're playing caricatures. There are just 5 people standing around, dicking at a camera. That's all they were doing.
That's the beauty of it.
That's not beauty, that's lazy.
That's
good for like a 5-minute SNL sketch, not an hour and 45-minute movie.
For them to improvise that kind of comedy is very
Here's the thing
funny.
about improv comedy. It can either be really funny with that one moment that, that's actually really good, but 90% before you get to that one gem is complete crap. Except for anything, actually not even that, Rebel Wilson's a lot of shitty things too. But, pretty much, but improv is a very delicate thing, and it just should not be the basis for your movie. That's...
Well, it seems like a very successful movie to me.
Apparently God is angry at me.
Seems like a very successful movie to me for the first one. Actually, to be honest, I didn't really like much of the jokes from the second one. For the first 40 minutes at least. Like, they were pretty low blows. And I felt like the first movie had more creative punchlines.
It still relied on a lot of... I do agree to a certain extent. That being said, it still relied on a lot of the same kind of humor that I wasn't a big fan of in the first Anchorman movie,
Right.
which was just the randomness. For the sake of being random, it has served no purpose other than, hey, it's there, we can do it. Ha ha. And then a lot of it, again, is Will Ferrell just screaming for no reason, just because the fact that, hey, if I scream and make wacky noises, that makes me funny, right? Ha ha. Sorry, you're gonna see a different side of me today. But because I don't think you've ever been in a review of me where I've actually gotten like legitimately a little angry. I don't think. No, maybe a little bit of Hangover 3, but not too much. Anyway. But it is better here. I think actually spent some effort to actually write a script, at least a basis of one. And the actors, I think, are trying harder to make these actual characters rather than caricatures, which they were in the first movie.
You know, Brian's first appearance in the movie was absolutely great. Like, you see him, and he's using a camera, and seemingly it looks like he's kind of in the pornography business, but to our surprise, he's shooting kittens.
Yeah, it had a few of those.
I love his character. Like,
I liked him. I liked him better in this one than they did in the second one. The same reason, because I thought he was trying harder to actually like play a character rather than just in the first movie. He's like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and you're gonna print it. It's basically what most of the actors did. God bless him. Steve Carell in the first movie and in the second one is the only one trying to make a legitimate character out of this.
Well,
and Brick, again, was the only person that really made me laugh.
Okay, well, that kind of defeats your purpose of saying how random it is. Brick is the definition of
fair
random.
enough, but he plays it off so much better and with so much like straight face than any of the other actors.
You know what? I didn't really like his love interest.
Really? Because I liked her. I thought
like
they meshed off each other. Granted, that part where they start screaming in the office, I was like, okay, wrap it up, guys. But
I felt like she was basically copying and ripping off Brent's identity. Like, I understand that they had that commonality of being really freaking weird, but in my opinion, I don't think the chemistry was there.
Really? Because I actually liked that little pairing. Like, that's one thing I actually kind of liked about it. I liked the how
it's
played
cute,
off
but I just feel like excuse me, what's her name again? I forget.
You're asking the wrong person.
Just
here.
saw her in Bridesmaids, but I actually really love her as a character in SNL. Like, when she plays her characters, like when she played Lana Del Rey, and just she's a great character, but for this particular movie, just not my favorite. Like, I've seen her in a lot better.
Either way, like it's a lot of random screaming at times, because again, Will Ferrell thinks that instantly makes people laugh, and granted, given our audience, more often than not, it did. But
Full House.
Yeah, Full House.
We tried to get seats, and every time I sat down, someone's like, "Oh, sorry, this whole entire row is taken. Why don't you just tell me the whole entire theater is taken?"
I just know we took a couple seats. I left to go to the bathroom. I came back. She'd gone. I was like, "Oh crap, she left me here to sit through this movie."
That would be evil.
That would be mean. That's like if like Chris left me in the middle of Smurfs 2. God bless that man. I've taken him to so many terrible movies. Anyway, I'll probably take him to go see Medea too, just to, get him back in the game. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So, because I don't want to talk about this. Will Ferrell, to his credit, I liked him better in this for same reasons, despite he's doing the same shit he does in every movie he's in. He's trying a little harder to actually make something of it. Or at least I thought so. And it kind of works. Sometimes.
I pretty much think he's on point with his character. I actually thought it was really interesting that they made him blind. Like,
again, it comes back to the random spoiler, by the way.
I mean, it's genius, actually. Like, I didn't see it coming, to be honest. Like, think about it. Ron Burgundy is fueled by the fact that people love him. And his medium for his career is visual.
I don't really...
Take away his vision, you have no Ron Burgundy.
I don't think Brilliant and Anchorman belong in the same sentence.
No, I think it is. I think it is because, I mean, he lost everything. When he lost his sight, he lost everything.
And they milked that for all it's worth.
You know, the lighthouse was a little weird. Even the shark was a little weird too, but like...
The shark was a little weird?
The sentimentality.
I mean, you want to talk about pointless. Let's talk about the shark. Okay, so let's backtrack a few bits here, because we're jumping way ahead in the movie. So what happens is, in the movie, as Alysa said... Ron Burgundy loses a job to his wife because, as everyone else in the movie points out, he's a complete jackass. Until he gets approached by this guy who's working on a global news network that runs 24 hours a day that has Cyclops from X-Men. I don't know his name, but I know he's Cyclops from X-Men. That's pretty much all I know him from. And The Box, and a few other movies, and Superman.
The Box is a good movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I remember seeing it in my Comic-Con.
I haven't seen it either, and I still don't really understand the ending. So we'll have to save that conversation.
That's a review right there. But he basically replaces Vince Vaughn's character from the first movie as the rival newscaster, although Vince Vaughn does make an appearance here. Again, whether you like this movie or not really depends on whether you liked the first one or not. If you didn't like the first one, this isn't going to change your mind. It didn't change my mind. Granted, it exceeded my incredibly low expectations, but I still didn't care for it. But if you loved the first one,
check it out.
I mean, was this better or worse than the first one, in your opinion? Since you're like an actual Anchorman fan, and I'm clearly not.
Honestly, this is my personal opinion anyways. I don't really think anything will exceed the first movie for its originality. Like, it was a very good attempt, but
You did not just say originality in Anchorman.
I did. And personally, for the second movie, there were some really funny moments, but I actually kind of feel like they were just trying a little bit too hard. With the first one, they were having fun with it. The second one, like, they were really trying to, as Michael said, milk every single... like, laugh out of you.
And that's different from the first movie because
that was the very first movie. I mean, like...
So if they do it in the first movie, it's okay, but if they do it in a sequel, that's bad.
Because they're trying to top the first movie, and I feel like they can't top the first movie. It's like... How do I describe it? It's like The Hangover, you know? Like, you get a little bit of the same sense, and then they try to top it each time. But... the first one's always going to be good. It's like Land Before Time. 7 times, you just gotta give up.
Land Before Time. I actually owned a lot of those straight to VHS movies.
I think I've only seen like 4 through 6 or something.
I don't remember them. I just remember one had like a little baby T-Rex. I think they had a little chomper or something like that. That's the only thing I remember.
If you can get past the randomness in this movie... then you would probably enjoy yourself. I enjoyed myself at the very end, but for the first 30 minutes, I was kind of like, maybe Michael's right. Maybe this is a load of shit, and maybe I'm just...
Maybe I'm right, please. I'm always right.
But then as I started watching it, I did notice, like Michael said, there was some plot.
I think it was trying more to be an actual movie this time around, and I think that's probably why I liked it a little better, because, honest to God...
Can we talk about the scene where they're shooing the shark away? Where they're actually singing and the little boy is actually crying? I thought that... Michael agreed. I heard him. He can't deny this. I heard him say... Yeah, that's pretty good.
I said I give him credit. Will Ferrell doesn't have a bad singing voice. That's what I said. So what happens is Will Ferrell becomes outrageously popular, involving another case of bullshit moments when he hooks up with the hot black boss that he has. And oh, by the way, if you thought the talk of sexism in the first movie was really delicate and really sensitive, the talk about racism is even better in this movie.
I never said that, but okay.
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm saying in general.
Oh, okay.
Because the first movie stopped talking about sexism, but really had absolutely nothing to say about it.
Right. The emphasis was the fact that, like, he couldn't accept that female anchors could be.
No, the focus was how can we milk this non-existent issue in this time frame to as large as humanly possible.
Oh, no, I totally believe that having a newswoman was a very big deal.
I looked it up. No, it was not.
Did you look it up?
I looked it up. Women's news anchors was not new back when the time this movie supposedly took place. The first Anchorman took place in, like, 1976. Like, the first news anchor woman was in 1972 or something like that. You can look it up on Google. I looked it up once.
I don't think Anchorman 2 actually specified the year.
I did. I wikied it. I looked it up. I did my research on this. At this point, in fact, the 70s was a point when women were start to push for equality in the workplace. This kind of thing was not new.
But if you think about it, they were in San Diego, so they weren't on, like, worldwide nation cover. They were covering local news. So for a local newsroom to see a female, like, leading all the news stories, I think it was a big deal for him. Like, if he was in New York, that wouldn't be surprising. That's why he was surprised when he saw a black, like, woman being his boss.
But equal rights wasn't an isolated incident. It was a national thing. It surely had to happen in San Diego with other news networks more often than not.
But a local news network? Do you think?
I think it would. Like,
and why isn't any of the other local news networks in San Diego, why don't they have a female?
I don't watch San Diego news, so I don't.
Well, you weren't there at 1976 or 1976.
And neither were you.
Exactly. So
except I did my homework. That's the difference. I'm just saying, look it up. That's all I'm saying.
I'm thinking what the movie is actually trying to represent is during that vicinity, not trying to be exactly in the same year. During that time, that was a transitional movement for women as news anchors.
Not really. In late 60s? Yeah, totally. I'd be down with it. Late 70s though? No. That wasn't
But if you can't, like, let that go, and everything in the movie is completely, like...
Exactly.
Then why are you arguing with me? You're just arguing with me.
No, I'm saying these are long-harbored issues I've had about this movie, so I apologize.
Well, I feel like if you're gonna watch this movie, you really have to let go of a lot of things.
I know.
Like, I let go of the fact that they insulted Filipinos.
Oh, yeah.
It's really not true at all. So you really have to let go of some of the shit that is said in this movie. Like, it's in the general vicinity. Like, during that time, women's rights as a news anchor, it's relative. Not saying it's, like, portraying the exact year.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give some leeway on that.
Okay.
I'm nitpicking, I admit. However, it did bug me.
Okay.
To be fair. Okay. Now, let's talk about Anchorman 2 now for a minute.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm rehashing what I've said in the past, so I don't want to go too much into that. Anyway, my point I was making was it kind of makes the... like I said, there was a lot of racism jokes, like the Filipino thing, and there's a lot of, like, black stereotype jokes.
Oh, the black jokes.
The black jokes. That was kind of painful. Yeah. I was like, oh, really?
I was wincing. Like, I was like...
It's like, this is really where we're going with this, like, stuff like that. The Mexican jokes, they're about Ron Burgundy himself more often than not, so I thought that was a bit more okay.
I think the most offensive were the black jokes.
Yeah, those are the ones that were like, your guy, just stop. It's like, just stop right there. Even though the Filipino one was pretty bad, too.
Yeah, it was a one-liner, but the whole, like, dinner with, I forget her character's name, with Ron Burgundy's boss.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Her family was pretty bad.
Yeah, stuff like that. The thing about the Anchor, and this has nothing to do with, like, being nitpicking or anything, it's a general issue you can see in the movies, is the fact that the Anchorman movies have a tendency to take what could be a simple, very funny joke, and it just keeps dragging it on and on and on, and when it should have stopped like 5 minutes before it actually does. I think this is really evident towards the third act in the movie, where, like you said, Ron Burgundy falls, and he, like, hits his head, and that somehow gets him completely blind. And then they milk the whole blind joke over and over and over again with, well, couldn't you tell that? It's like, well, I couldn't because I was blind. And that's like the same punchline over and over and over again. Once or twice, fine. Yeah, that's actually kind of funny. But more than that, that's really just like, it's just beating a dead horse into the ground.
Who wrote this, do you know?
I know Will Ferrell was part of it, and I think the the director of the first movie wrote it too. Got a piece of popcorn stuck in my throat.
It's okay.
Anyway, but it's like, I thought this is really, really evident in the third act of the movie. What happens is, I mean, granted, another thing I kind of like with this movie too is that, unlike the first movie, when it really didn't have much of anything to say about the 70s, even though it's supposed to be a parody of the 70s, this one actually did have something to say.
How so?
Well, about the whole news thing. Which I thought there was a bit of a hypocrisy in the kind of in the message they were going for, but basically, like, what happens is he goes to global news and he's stuck on the graveyard shift at 2 to 5 a.m. And it's like, how we need to make the news more interesting. Basically, it's like, we make up whatever we want. We talk about America and how good it is. We talk about animals and talk about police chases. It's basically everything that's not news that we see on the news every day now.
Basically sensationalize everything. Exactly.
And it's like, okay, granted, I don't think Will Ferrell's smart enough to talk about those kind of things, but I admire him for trying.
We talk about what things?
Well, basically, again, like talking about the basically size. What was the word you used?
Sensationalize?
Thank you. It's been a long week. Anyway, but it's like talking about how, like, basically the news doesn't actually report news anymore, and how that's kind of just nonsense and takes away from actual journalism. Granted, it doesn't really delve much into it, but again, I admired for actually trying to say something about the time era it was actually in. Granted, I haven't looked it up, so I don't know how much prevalent issues it was at this time, but again, I admire the fact that it actually has something to say, other than people wore funny suits and had mustaches in the 70s. And sexism was an issue. That's all they had to say about the 70s. And didn't really go much beyond that.
Sometimes I feel like the news still struggles with that.
I would agree.
I mean, an example would be the San Jose State hate crimes. Like, they were sensationalized in the news.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, you know, we don't hear about it anymore. It's been 2 weeks, you know? So, I'm not really sure about the ethics of the news and how it's evolved since then, since the 70s.
But either way, like I said, I admire it for trying. Didn't really succeed too well. But again, I like that it actually tried to do something about it. But the reason I say that, because he does all this sensationalizing, he becomes super famous, and he loses his eyesight, and he ends up in this lighthouse for some reason. And his wife, Christina Applegate, I actually like Christina Applegate. Again, I have a feeling she's actually tried to do something with the material she's given. I had that feeling in the first movie, I have that feeling in the second movie. Granted, the material she's given, hit and miss. But, again, I admire the effort. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it just gets really random. Like, then they suddenly discover a baby shark that he nurses back to health and then releases into the wild. And that's where the song comes in. And admittedly, the song wasn't bad. But at the same time, it served absolutely no purpose.
But if you appreciate it for the aesthetic beauty, I think that's probably the best scene.
It was a very nice beach.
Yeah. For them to get the child actor to actually cry.
I want to know what they did. Did they have, like, the mother at gunpoint behind the camera?
Oh, jeez.
Cry! I said cry! Because all news... like,
it was great. Like, I was actually, like, really entertained. Overall, I mean...
I don't know. For me, it's like, I felt like, okay, sure, why not? But it accomplishes absolutely nothing. It services nothing of the movie at all. In fact, you could cut that whole section out completely, and it wouldn't change anything.
Well, it actually provides the idea that Ron Burgundy had a change of heart.
Because of a shark?
Yeah, he nursed a shark back to health.
I see what you're saying. My point is, it doesn't change the fact that nursing a shark back to health is still very, very random, and
the whole movie is random.
More so than the other scenes, in my opinion. Like, at least...
No way! The
yes.
very end is the most random thing I've ever seen.
Okay, yeah. Okay, no argument there. And that's another thing that bugged me again, is the one scene I did like from the first Anchorman, the one scene that I actually really liked from the first movie was actually the Anchorman brawl in the back alley. I actually thought that is where all the stuff that I didn't like about Anchorman worked really well together.
Mm-hmm.
And here they kind of try to replicate it, except just, again, the same thing kind of you were saying. They try and make it bigger and they try and make it better, but it just feels more awkward and just stretches on for way too long. Granted, I liked Jim Carrey as the Canadian newscaster.
Sorry.
Like, at that point, yeah, like, every time, like, the most polite newscaster, they hit me and go, they insult me and go, sorry, right after that. Like, I thought that was kind of funny the first time. The fifth time, not so much. But anyway, at that point, it basically became like, how many guest appearances can we get in the course of 5 minutes?
Shout out to Drake, by the way, for making a cameo.
Was that Drake?
That was Drake with the fro.
Oh, God, I didn't know. I saw Will Ferrell. Not Will Ferrell. Of course, Will Ferrell's in there.
Will Ferrell, Will Smith.
Will Smith, that's what I was thinking of. Will Smith, Liam Neeson. I don't know how they talked him into doing it. Harrison Ford is, of course, in there. He turns into a weird...
Tina Fey!
Tina Fey, the other chick from SNL. And then... What
Vince Vaughn.
Of course, Vince Vaughn comes back, and just a lot of stuff like that. After that point, it just stretches on again for way too long. Like it just kept going and kept going and kept going. Granted, I liked the upgrade to the Steve Carell grenade joke from the first movie, which was he had the future gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, where'd you get that? And he starts laughing. It's like, again, that's why I liked Brick. In the first movie, I liked him now. It's like he makes those random things work for him because it feels much more part of his character than it does anyone else in the movie. Like,
well, he has the easy part, to be honest. He has an easy role. I think the hardest... No, Champ has the easiest role. There's literally a whole section where the entire joke is him saying whammy over and over and over and over again. No, because he has to awkwardly grab Will Ferrell and...
That's not hard. I can do that.
I don't know.
It's like...
I think, I think Brent has the easiest role.
But he plays it with so much more conviction than the other ones.
I don't know.
We might have to disagree on this one.
Agree to disagree.
Pretty much about the whole movie. But I'm not saying there aren't redeemable qualities. I mean, like, if you like this movie, good for you. Like, I don't take it as, like, the fact that I don't... Not what I was going with that, but dinks. Anyway, but it's like, fine, like it. I don't care. Like, that's what it comes to. If you like this movie, by all means, enjoy it. Have fun with it.
I did.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, don't take my, like, this is what bugged me about having different opinions from other people. It's like almost if you have a different opinion, that somehow invalidates your own, and therefore you have to hate on that person who doesn't like what you like. That's why I started having people come with me, so that way, like, we have this back and forth, where you have your perspective, I have mine, we can come to a conclusion.
Right.
Not like internet hate, where you go, you suck because you didn't like this one thing, but, thankfully I haven't gotten to that point yet. It might come one. I take that back, we had that happen once during Beautiful Creatures. You were there for that. But, it's like, if you like this movie, good for you, enjoy it, have fun with it, ignore everything I say. If you like this movie, because you're not going to agree with a thing I've said for the past 20-30 minutes. I think it's fair to say you probably agree a lot more with Alysa on this one. In this case, shower her with praise and fill me with hate. But
shall we move on to the trailers? Unless you wanted to say some other passing things.
Yeah, if anything comes to mind, I'll bring it up. All right. Yeah, so now it's a good time as any. As always, I write them down. Except for one, I missed it, so I have August something. First one I'm actually looking forward to, because the cast alone looks amazing, which was Monument Men. That was the World War II movie.
Yes.
Because it has...
Art history, my favorite subject.
Yes. Wait, she had that
Thumbs
class.
up for being a graphic design major, guys.
Yeah, because you're a graphics designer, you have to take art history, which, of course, completely irrelevant. Anyway, but that one has...
it actually looks very interesting.
No, it actually has, like, a lot of my favorite actors in there. It has George Clooney, Matt Damon,
It
John
looks very
Goodman.
promising.
It has John Goodman. That alone is enough to get me in the door. But on top of that, it has Bill fucking Murray is in this movie. Granted, he doesn't say a single thing through the entire trailer, but it still has Bill
Saving the
fucking
best
Murray.
for last.
And, like, I've seen the more comedic version of this trailer. It actually looks pretty funny. So, like, I'm actually think it's going to be a good movie. Like, very kind of quirky kind of movie.
A World War II movie being kind of funny. That'll be interesting.
Hey, Inglourious Bastards. Come on.
That's true.
And granted, that movie was really dark with the Nazi hunter thing, but
yeah.
But either way, it still had moments to laugh. And then we had another one which looks interesting that I forgot to write the full name of.
It was called like August something country.
Let's just say August Country for the sake of argument. You can, if you know, let us know in the comments. Either way, it has Bandit Cumberbatch. Again, sold right there. Has Sherlock. That's all I need. You don't know who Bandit Cumberbatch is, do you?
Sherlock, you just said.
Yeah, well, I mean...
who else was there? The girl from Little Miss Sunshine.
Yep, she was there.
Yeah.
It also had Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Also, Meryl Streep.
Yep, Meryl Streep is in there. Yep, so the guaranteed Oscar already. Had that guy who... He's in the new Spider-Man movie. The older guy. Oh, he played the villain in the Muppets. That's why I recognize him.
I don't know his name.
It's like Pete something.
In below if you know.
Yeah. Anyway, that looks interesting. Looks like a good family drama
also
thing.
Promising, yeah.
I mean, again, no matter what he's in, Benedict Cumberbatch is always amazing. He was great in The Hobbit. He was easily the best part of The Hobbit, the new one. He played the voice of the dragon.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever read The Hobbit?
No, that's why I asked you if you...
Oh, okay. That explains it now. But the whole, you know the story though, right?
Gist of it.
Basically, a bunch of dwarves and a hobbit go to a mountain ruled by a dragon.
Oh, okay.
Did you never see the first Hobbit?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, there's so much I have to catch you up on.
Yep.
Stuff saved for later on the winter break. But, that's right, you haven't even seen Lord of the Rings, have you?
Nope.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Breaking my heart.
That's why I don't plan on watching The Hobbit or the second one because I haven't seen any of the Lord of the Rings.
You don't need to be fair.
Oh.
Technically, The Hobbit's a prequel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They did the whole Star Wars
second
thing.
time.
And if it's a car parking lot, you know.
Of course, you know how it works. Anyway, that's what we get for doing this in the most cheap budget we can possibly manage.
What was the next movie?
The next one we got was Grudge Match. I've gotten this trailer 5 times, so I'm not...
Oh, okay.
So, what do you think about it?
That was the one with
Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro.
I mean, it's hard because when you name drop really good actors, you think that it's gonna be a good movie. So honestly, I don't know.
I mean, I love Robert De Niro. I think he's an amazing actor. But I saw The Big Wedding.
Was it bad?
Yes, that's the one you missed out on because you were busy at the time. So me and Sarah saw it, and we were mad at you for months because of it. Because it's one of the worst movies of the year.
Oh god, that's horrible.
And you missed out. And we were like, I remember we were talking in the video about it, where it's like, how can we make her pay for missing out? We still haven't come with a good solution, but it's coming. And of course, for making me dance to Wrecking Ball.
Thumbs up for Wrecking Ball, guys.
It actually has 5 thumbs ups right now. It's has the highest rating number.
Exactly.
Videos.
You're welcome.
When I spend a half hour for months making these videos, no, nothing. I make one video of one take of me dancing a Spider-Man outfit. All of a sudden, boom! 5 shares, 5,000 comments, and likes and lots of stuff.
Yep.
Oh, the way of the internet. Anyway. But, yeah, final thoughts?
Nope. Go see the movie.
If you're like me, which I'm guessing based on the likes and dislike ratio of the Anchorman review is not many of you. If you do not like the first Anchorman, this isn't going to change your mind. However, if you like the first Anchorman, have a ball.
Relive Brent. Relive
Brick.
Baxter.
Who's barely in this movie.
I know. He saves the day, but he just kind of...
Another kind of pointless random scene at the very
time.
end. Yeah. I mean, I actually like Baxter from the first movie, even with the weird-ass bear scene at the very end. Again, that kind of comes right out of nowhere.
Where's Jack Black, right?
I admit.
Probably eating that burrito.
I admit that scene made me a little angry because I'm like, you don't kill the dog!
Yeah.
Of course they didn't, but they threw Beanie Baby off a bridge. But I think that's all we got. So this has actually been a fairly interesting discussion we've had here. So take that as you will. Make up your own conclusion from there. And we'll see you all later. Wait, what do we got next? We got American Hustle, and we have A Medea Christmas.
And this is probably going to be the last time you guys see me on camera for the rest of the year. So.
Yep, she's
Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
She's heading off to freaking San Diego.
San Diego.
For like the next 2-3 weeks. Oh,
do Ron Burgundy good. Oh, that's my next thing. I have to watch that movie when I'm in San Diego. That was one of my goals when I moved to San Diego, actually. Side note. And it happened, and I am freaking happy about that.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Thanks. On that note.
Bye.